Welcome to Dirty Laundry City with Isabella and Silvana,
an unironically relatable female millennial podcast where we talk about health, relationships, and being in our 30s.
Airing out your laundry has never been so dirty.
Follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at Dirty Laundry City for more. Let's get into it.
Welcome back to Dirty Laundry City.
Welcome back. I'm Silvana.
I'm Isabella.
And this is Crouton. We finally have him. He's here and he's maybe queer. I don't know.
His first cameo.
His first cameo. His first time online. Oh, he's being a little indecent. We have to be careful. It finally happened. We got him. He's 4 months old. And he's the little light of my life. So he snorts like a pig.
He's a little pig.
He's a little pig.
Love him no matter what.
Yep. Okay. We can't keep him. He's a little munchkin.
Okay, as always, let's start off with our lights, darks, and delicates. You want to start us off?
Yeah. Okay. So Lights is my dog. It finally happened. We had a whole thing with the breeder that we were supposed to go with. Ended up, like, the mom just, like I said, did not want to do it. So she never got pregnant. So
Good for her.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of like us.
Women's right to choose, okay?
Us in dog form. Respect her, but she didn't do the job that I paid her for. So that's not cool. So we ended up going with another breeder. It just, like, worked out. Honestly, perfect timing. But yeah, he's been great. It's, like, crazy how quickly you just become obsessed with the thing. But it's all good. It's what I've wanted for so long. And yeah, so that's my light.
Here. My lights, I kind of go through these phases in life where I get really into reading books.
I love
so
that.
I'm back on my reading game. I feel like sometimes it will take me like a month to finish one book, and then other months I can finish like multiple. So I listen to typically audiobooks, and two books that I've recently listened to this past couple weeks called Una Out of Order, which is a fiction book kind of about time travel. And
cool.
then another fiction book that I read, which was a recommendation from one of my coworkers called Hurricane Girl, which is just like a quick read about a girl whose house gets blown away by a hurricane.
Oh God. Are they good endings or?
Yeah, they're not like traumatic. Like it's
Is it drama or like romance or
kind of everything? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. I'm always looking for books that aren't fantasy because I'm so obsessed with fantasy. I need to like take breaks every once in a while. So
more just like regular fiction.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Dark.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, it's got to be the dog. I mean, you can't tell. I'm like, that's all I think about and talk about now. It's just really hard. Like it's really hard.
Yeah.
The day after I got him, this like goes on the whole theme of this episode. I like had like a mental breakdown, like an actual like mini
TB.
Just a slight mentee.
Just a tad.
It was kind of like a mini panic attack because it's just scary.
You go from having like zero responsibility to having like, obviously it's not child, but it's
similar.
You're keeping something alive.
Yeah. Yeah. It's exactly just the responsibility of knowing like I guess technically I can, but like I can't just like take it back. Like it's kind of scary. And not that I wasn't prepared for it in the way of like I've been mentally like getting myself there for a while, but I think just it hit me in that moment. And honestly, I will say too, like I'll touch on it briefly. It was hard for my relationship too, because it shifted that dynamic. Probably similar to having a kid.
Yes.
Like it's all we talk about now, like worry about. I think about him all the time. Like I miss him. It's just crazy, but it's really hard. And I like people who get puppies, especially alone, like that. I give you a lot of credit. So
yeah, for sure. It's a lot of work. I can't imagine.
Yeah.
So my darks, even though it's been really beautiful outside, it almost makes me less motivated to go outside because it's so hot.
Yeah.
So sometimes I feel like I should be kind of going out there, enjoying the weather more. So that's kind of my dark for.
Are you like
for
hard
right
on
now.
yourself
Yeah,
when you don't do it?
I
Like,
definitely am like hard on myself. For sure.
Do you get just like do you just feel like I don't want to leave? Like
I
my
don't want to
apartment?
leave
Like,
because I'm just gonna drip sweat.
yeah, I mean, I get it.
You know, like
yeah.
you can't truly enjoy it unless you're inside.
Yeah. It's funny because it's totally opposite of not funny, but like it's ironic because it's totally opposite of what everyone says about like depression during the winter.
Seasonal depression.
Yeah, because you're like, well, seasonal is like when it's cold,
right?
But like it's actually, but I'm sure you're not the only one.
No, I mean, I've seen a couple people on TikTok even saying like, okay, does anyone get summer seasonal depression?
Yeah.
Because it's like so overwhelmingly warm or like more difficult to do things.
Yeah. And like everyone's out. So I feel like if you're not doing something, you're kind of like, I should be doing something.
Exactly.
And I also feel like the summer in New York is so fun. Don't get me wrong, like New York City.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of horrible.
I think it's the worst season, actually.
It's
in the
actually
city.
horrible.
Like people who come here on vacation don't come during the summer because it's not fun.
Right.
Like, obviously, the spring is like fall is probably the best.
Yeah.
But like, don't come. It's not pleasant.
No.
It's not pleasant.
Yeah.
The humidity is not worth it.
And it's just like it's like stuck in like this bubble, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like you're in between all these buildings and there's just like nowhere to go. But I guess also too, it's probably like when I'm in the summer, yes, there's like fun rooftops and all that stuff in the city, but I just want to be on a beach. I don't want to be
like in a concrete jungle.
Yeah. Like where, like sweating on the subway, walking up the stairs, whatever. So I get that. Okay. Delicates. Yes. I guess it kind of feeds into our episode too of like with my therapist, I'm really working on my patience a lot, and I am very naturally impatient. My father is like the most impatient person I've ever met in my entire life, and I never recognized how impatient I was until probably this past year when I started having, or 2 years when I started having like panic attacks and everything. It fed off my impatience.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm working on that a lot in therapy, and it's definitely going well. And I will say, if you want to learn patience, get a dog or have a kid.
Right. 100%. Yeah, you have to be.
Yeah. So my therapist is like, wow, Silvana, you're really like exposing yourself in this therapy. Like you're doing what is it? Not exposure therapy. There's like a name for it.
I don't know.
Where you're like putting yourself in the situation that makes you anxious.
Oh, yes. No, I think it is like exposure therapy or exposure something
like that. Like she's like, you're really doing it. You got a dog, which is like you have to be the most patient person. Speaking of patience, I literally walked my dog at 3 a.m. for 45 minutes just to get him to take a shit outside. So talk like about
things you go from 0 to 100 so quickly.
So yeah, like your whole life is different, but it's good. I mean, it's teaching me a lot. So
yeah, I'd say my delicates. So something I'm like actively working on. I feel like I have a lot of travel planned, but it's not really travel for myself. Although I want to do these things. I am more than happy to do the travel for weddings or whatever the case may be. Yeah. But it's been a long time where I've just like gone on either a girls trip or just like a trip with a few friends. And I think next summer is gonna have to be the European vacay.
The summer of Bella.
Yeah.
The summer of Bella. Where do you want to go?
Italy.
Okay. Are you going alone?
Greece.
Are you doing a solo trip?
No.
Do you think you could ever do a solo trip?
Yes, I could.
I think you could too. Why haven't you?
Because I feel like my parents don't let me. They would be
nervous.
show up, first of all.
So it wouldn't be a solo trip.
Yeah, it would not be a solo
Bill
trip.
Cardina would be like, hey, Bella.
He'd be like at the airport as soon as I get there.
I don't have the personality to do that. You definitely do. But I think it's the safety thing, especially for me. Number one for me would be who do I talk to?
Who do you talk to?
I can't be alone. But I think also too, I would be more nervous to be in situations than I would if I had like you or something.
Well, yeah, it's like you want to share like experiences together too.
That too,
it'd be so nice if you could share this with someone.
Yeah, but traveling with people is hard.
Oh, it is very hard.
And you could be friends with someone, really good friends, and not travel with them. We travel well.
We travel,
I would say.
very well.
We have a few friends that we travel really well with.
Yeah, I think so too.
But yeah, it's totally different spending like a week. And when you go to Europe, you're not spending a weekend with them. You're spending like 10 days.
Yeah, exactly.
And are you going anywhere specific?
I mean, maybe Italy, maybe Greece. I don't know.
Okay. Wherever
We'll
the
see.
wind takes you.
Whoever wants to sign up.
Yeah. Anyway, comment below if you want
It's
to
a
go
field
with
trip,
Bella.
and I'm leading the group.
Maybe we can get like a guy to sign up. I mean, hey, you're single.
Yes.
I don't know how many guys are listening, but you probably wouldn't even want to go with the
No, I wouldn't. Okay.
All right.
Let's get into it.
Let's get into it. I didn't catch your cue to do it at the same time.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's get into it. It's so sad.
Okay. So today's episode is going to be surrounding the conversation of mental health, which we feel like is very important to touch on.
Yes, and very
Prevalent
in
both
our
of
lives. We talk about it a lot.
Yeah.
Probably more so than we talk about it in our friendship a lot.
Yes.
And then I think we individually also talk about it and
Yeah.
are really open about it.
Yeah.
More so than probably anyone we are friends with, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I have a few friends who I talk about it with, but
Okay.
not that often.
Yeah.
I think we just also talk about it a lot because we're working through it
Yeah.
to like bounce ideas off of each other almost.
Yeah. Well, and I also just feel like it's nice to have someone to be like, oh, you're not alone.
Yes.
Like
and
when you're like, I had a
understanding.
weird week or I had a rough time. Like, you
Yeah.
know that I also
Have
go through stuff like that
Gone
too.
through, yeah, similar situation.
And it's just so nice to be in a group of people and know there's one person that like understands.
yeah.
Anyway.
There's one person who's not stable. Hi. Welcome. So obviously there's different types of like ways to take care of your mental health, or sometimes there are different factors that trigger something within you, like a mental health diagnosis. So whether you have anxiety, depression, bipolar disorder, whatever the case may be. For me, I've, like you said, always been kind of an open book about it. And I've never really felt the stigma of that it's something embarrassing to talk about, or that it makes you, weak or not have like a, sane mind.
Ever since you were young.
Yeah, ever since I was pretty young. Yeah, I think that I had a lot of anxious tendencies as a kid, probably more than most. It didn't, deter me from having a happy childhood by any means. I wasn't like too afraid to go outside or something, but I definitely had a little sense of worry within me.
Yeah.
And certain things that triggered me or that would induce my anxiety as a kid no longer factor in my life now.
But you knew you had it. Like, did you understand what it was and know what it was when you were young? Or was it just like...
No, I don't think I knew like a true name for it.
Okay. But you always knew that it was there, and you
Yes.
never felt ashamed of it.
I never felt ashamed. No. I always knew it was there. I just kind of attributed it to just being like... I did know the word anxiety, and I did know the word anxious.
Yeah.
Because I would feel certain ways, like before a test, especially, or a big kind of thing, I'd get a little too anxious, and then everything kind of leaves your brain, and you just kind of focus on that. But I don't think I really knew like what it was.
Yeah. It's such an interesting thing because maybe the new generation is a little bit more aware of it and can identify it so quickly.
Yeah.
But I've had it my whole life and just had no idea.
Exactly,
Like
yeah.
zero idea. And I just thought it was, okay, that's just what it is. And
I think it manifests in different like ways and different times of your life.
right.
Which is completely, natural. I think that like the pressures of certain things can also get to you. For example, like school, I had a hard time, focusing as well. So I do think that when I was in my early 20s, so when I was in college, I did see just our regular doctor, and I was put on an antidepressant when I was 20. So I have been on them for 12 years. And I didn't feel any type of way about it when
Yeah.
And then I also feel like in culture, like in pop culture and with social media, like we've seen such an influx of the openness to talk about it.
Yeah.
Whether it's anxiety or depression or whatever.
But back then when you were on it, like did any friends on it? Like
just one. I had one friend.
Okay. And did you tell people, okay, like I'm on this now? Or were you kind of like...
Yeah, I think I told people. I wasn't like bragging about it.
I pop pills now.
Y'all, I have a prescription.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't.
But like when they said antidepressant, so like for me, when I went on it, I didn't go on it when I was younger, and I feel like back then I definitely would have like approached it way different than I approach now being on it. But when I went on it and I was prescribed for anxiety because I was having panic attacks, she put me on an antidepressant. And at the time I was depressed because I was so anxious I didn't want to leave the house that I actually like made myself depressed, but I had never felt any depression symptoms prior to that. And so I was like, well, why do I need this? Like, I'm not depressed. So like, were you feeling that way, or
I wasn't feeling depressed.
Okay.
But I think that from my own kind of research and my own brain, anxiety and depression are like sisters. They really play into each other. And they can really kind of like affect different like parts of your brain. So there have been times in my life where I've definitely felt more of a pull towards anxiety and more of a pull towards depression.
Yep.
I follow a psychiatrist on TikTok named Dr. Amen or Amen.
I love that guy.
How you say his name. But he treats a lot of people with depression, which is very interesting to me. He recently compared it to being like if you were treating chest pain, like what's the cause of the chest pain? So it could be like you have like a heart murmur, or you have like heartburn or whatever. So there's like these different factors that go into it. There's not just like one true, this is what causes depression, or this is, I'm sure it can be said for anxiety as well.
Yeah.
But it's just like an interesting kind of way to look at it for sure.
So like looking at it like an actual like disease, is that what you mean?
I mean, definitely like, but there's different types, you know, it's like there's not just one. It's not like if you have diabetes, you take insulin and that's it. Like there are kind of
multiple factors that play into it.
There's also multiple different types of medication, and you kind of have to find the one that works
for you,
best for you. And when I was 20, I went on a lower dosage of something, and you can kick it up a little bit or take it back down. I think there's a lot of trepidation with people taking pills. A lot of people are very anti taking pills. But again, I don't, for me at least, I don't see anything wrong with it as long as there's not a long-term effect.
Right. That's like negative. I love the way you talk about it, because when I first got prescribed, I felt like a failure.
Right. A lot of people do. That's like something that's super common.
Like it's like, oh, I couldn't do it myself, because everyone always says, do this first. Make sure you're eating healthy, work out, see a therapist. And I do all that for the most part, right? I mean, I obviously splurge every once in a while, but
you're really good about
I am
the health. You're taking care of yourself.
Yes, because I obviously want the best for myself, and it's scary. I don't want to like have a panic attack. I don't want to be anxious, whatever. Yeah. But I love the way that like you say it. It's like, okay, even if all of that didn't work and you're going on medication, you shouldn't feel like a failure. If you have diabetes, you go on medication. Yeah. If you have, like cancer, you're going through these, like, it's not the same, but you know what I mean? Like if you have something going on, like you treat it. Right. Like you need to like help yourself, help your body. And if for some reason it's not working, those other things, and you've tried, like there's nothing wrong with that.
And I think a lot of people get scared because they've heard horror stories about people going on Zoloft, I gain a bunch of weight, or positive negatives. Like there are definitely things that you play into finding the one that fits for you, and getting the right person to treat you as well, because a lot of times they'll definitely just
a big one,
push it on you.
Yes.
which I never felt that way in any situation, which I'm thankful and grateful for.
And you're lucky because that really doesn't happen. Like, people go in and really don't feel heard.
Right.
My first experience being prescribed something, he didn't listen to me, the doctor. It was like a general doctor, general physician, whatever.
Yeah.
Didn't listen to me, was complaining because he thought I was trying to get on like a Xanax, which I never said that. He was like, you're going to get addicted and it's going to be really bad.
Okay.
And then he's like, if you feel sad, just go on this. Didn't explain it.
Feel
Didn't
sad, like,
literally that was it.
So
and I was
vague.
like,
yeah.
and that turned me off. So that already gave me a bad negative view of it. But to your point, you need to find someone that you feel, 1, safe with, 2, feels like listens to you, and then 3, also is giving you something that works for you.
Yeah, it's trial and error, and I mean, I've just happened to be one of the luckier ones, I guess.
Yeah.
But I would say to those who are feeling anxious about it, taking medication, it's like there are so many other things that we ingest or put into our bodies that are equally as bad. And if this helps your brain, like, I don't really see anything wrong with it.
It's so true. It's almost like when people are like, well, I don't ever want to go on pills. It's like, well, what do you eat on the weekends?
Like,
what alcohol are you drinking?
Exactly, the alcohol you're drinking.
Saturday night. Like, we all have our things.
Yeah.
But if this is going to make you live your life better and be like a happier, more stable person, then why not? I mean, yeah, if you can live your life without it, that's great, but like, why not try to better yourself in that way?
Yeah, there's nothing worse than this when you're anxious and when you're having a panic attack or going kind of spiraling. It's a debilitating feeling, and why would you want to try and just not do anything about it? Like, maybe not do anything about it, but I mean, if there's a pill, there's plenty of other ways I do believe you can talk yourself down.
Yes, that work. If
this is like
practice.
a matter of fact science, like literal science.
Yeah.
So,
but I do agree or believe that like it's not just that, right? Like there are things like knowing yourself, knowing your body, knowing that you like knowing where to place your energy, when to like, you're really good at this when you're just like, look, I've been out all day with these people, or like I've been around these people and I'm tired, like I need to remove myself and like be in my own space and like sleep. You're really good about it. I'm learning now to start doing that because I used to just like go and then I get really anxious. But also another thing is like I'm doing the exposure therapy of like flying, right? Because like my big anxiety like trigger is now claustrophobia, like feeling claustrophobic. So yes, I'm on medication for like those feelings, but I also practice all of these things I'm working with my therapist and putting myself in the situations to hopefully improve and get better and be able to be in those situations without freaking out.
Yeah.
And it's gotten a lot better, but it's still so hard and it still can be really debilitating and it sucks. Like it's so scary because it's not real, but it's still so scary.
It's not like a physical like ailment necessarily. Like you didn't like break a leg or like break an arm or have an aneurysm. Like it's literally in your mind. And that's what's even more frustrating about it is that you're spiraling and you're spinning out. Yeah. Because it's all created in your mind and like
you're the only one in control.
The only one in control.
So when you don't feel like you're in control, you're like, okay, have you ever felt like am I crazy?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
She's like every day.
Yeah. 100. There's like a method. There's obviously many different mechanisms, but there's like they identify like it's like a sound and like a feeling or like touch. Like you're supposed to.
It's your senses. Yeah, my therapist told me about. Yeah,
identify.
Yeah, so
senses.
it's sound, smell, touch, taste. Yeah. Oh yeah, I do that on planes sometimes.
Yeah, you have to like so that your brain can trick itself into thinking like it's fine. Yeah. Also, sour candy, I guess, is really good for triggering the receptors in your brain.
Placing your feet on the ground, like grounding yourself, that's a big one, especially if you like don't like to be high up in the air or like underneath. Like mine's like feeling stuck up in the air underground. Yeah. That's a big one. But like everyone's go-to is breathing. And I get it. I understand breathing slows down, like breathing deeply and well and correctly slows down your heart rate. So I understand the benefit of it. But for me, with my therapist, she's like, try this breathing. I couldn't just do that.
No.
Because it would just make me focus too much on, am I breathing?
Yes. And
I would literally trick myself into being like, I can't breathe, when in reality, like, I'm 100% oxygen is going through my body.
Yes, so 100%.
Yeah, I think most people are like, okay, calm down, breathe. I get it. You need to breathe. But like, if you know anything about anxiety, that's not it. Just it.
Yeah, for sure.
It's got to be a lot more.
I think a lot of my remedies, typically when I've had anxiety, it's thankfully been at my house or my apartment or somewhere enclosed.
Yeah,
I'm
lucky.
like a shower person. I'm like taking like 12 showers at night. Like it calms you down. I don't like heat. Like I need to be like fans, air. Even if it's dead of winter. Like the weather is like when I start to sweat, it's like, oh my gosh. Yeah. It's so gross.
I felt the opposite though. Remember when I had that panic attack when we were in Newport?
Oh yeah.
That was because I was so cold. It was a weird one though, because usually when I'm anxious I get really hot.
Yeah.
So I have like felt the cold aspect one too. It was like just such an extreme cold. That I was like so uncomfortable. Yeah, but yeah, it's usually heat.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about. We already know that I don't like the heat. When you kind of recognized you were having anxiety or that it's become more prevalent in your life.
Well, I said it before. I definitely had it when I was younger. I just didn't know. Like no one talked about it around me. My parents didn't, and I mean, my parents definitely have it. So,
same.
Getting older and seeing it, it's like wild to like recognize it and see it. But, yeah, they didn't talk about it too much. But I think it's the generation just didn't talk about it too much. But anyway, so I definitely had it when I was younger, and it manifested in like different ways. Won't go into it too much, but now that I'm older, recognized, and I think it really started, okay, this is actually kind of crazy, where I think it triggered and came about was I was 5 years on an IUD. I was on the Mirena. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's the hormonal IUD for birth control. So I've been on birth control since I was like 15.
Right.
For the benefit of birth control, but then also just for like periods and stuff, because like it was bad. I mean, growing up, and it was rough. And so I went on pills for a while, and then I went on IUD because I just literally randomly just read, hey, do an IUD because you don't have to take pills anymore. Great. Didn't really look it up, barely discuss it with my gyno. She was like, yeah, do it, put it in, whatever. I luckily didn't have that horrible of an experience with like the whole process, but it was definitely uncomfortable at parts. But I loved it. I was living my best life on that thing. For 5 years, I was like running about town, you know, having a great time, just loving life. Like I was so happy on it. I don't remember ever being anxious or depressed, whatever. Went off of it. Started getting the weirdest symptoms. Like it was almost like I was going through menopause. It was super weird. And I realized after I was looking it up online, it's called the Mirena crash. So it's a thing that people experience because your body is because your body's not really creating hormones anymore. It's like pumping these synthetic hormones into your body, the IUD. That once I took it out, my body didn't know what to do. Like it literally didn't know how to create hormones.
Why it's like premenopausal, because it's like it came from having all of these hormones, like a teenager or something, and then cut.
Yep.
Oh my god.
It was so weird. I was like feeling faint. Like I literally fainted on the subway one day, like going home. I was getting hot flashes. I felt so anxious. I didn't know what was going on. And I think what triggered it is the time I fainted in the subway because I was stuck in the subway. I mean,
that's
horrifying. And so from that moment, I started getting really claustrophobic in the subway and on planes and stuff. So it was like that one moment just like altered my brain chemistry.
Yeah.
And my therapist was like, yeah, it happens that way. It could be like one literal situation that just like doesn't, you know, it sticks with you. So I think that's where it came from. That was probably like, I would have to say maybe, what would it be, like 6 years ago at this point, 5 years ago. And then it just progressively got worse. And then COVID made it really, really bad for me. Like not being around people. My was going through relationship issues at the time. And honestly, just being, again, like stuck, like feeling like claustrophobic in a way.
I mean, I think that was a lot of people's feeling.
Yeah.
I mean, how could you not? You literally couldn't go anywhere.
Couldn't. And then like I left and went to Florida with my parents for like 3 months. I didn't see anyone. And I don't know, yeah, just from there. And then like the planes kind of like came up, which sucks because I used to fly so much as a kid. I still fly. I just force myself to do it now. But like I love to travel, so that was really hard. But I've gotten better, and obviously I've started my medications. I don't know, when did I start? Maybe like 2022, I think.
2 years.
Yeah, probably 2 years now. So yeah, but I felt my first real depression symptoms during COVID. And then when I was so anxious and not leaving, I like felt that depression.
Yeah.
But that's what you feel more now is the depression element than the anxiety,
I
right?
feel less, anxious, especially since I've cut out alcohol, which I think, you're not really supposed to drink when you're on those kinds of medications.
Yeah.
So I think it did trigger it in multiple ways.
Yeah.
But I haven't felt like true my typical anxiety for a few years.
That's great.
And I've kind of become more depressive. But I do think that is just kind of maybe like a part of my personality as well.
Yeah. So nothing like triggers it? You think it's just like a brain chemistry thing?
I do.
Interesting.
I definitely know I feel better when I go out and see people, but then, like you said, I kind of have a cap where I'm like, okay, this is enough. This is enough.
Yeah.
You know? So when I do isolate myself for too long, it is not good.
Right.
The
Which is like
isn't there.
It's
So
hard because it's like there's like a double-edged sword almost, because you're like, okay, well I like the solidarity and I like to like be home and all that stuff, but then if it's too much, it's just balance. Everything is balance.
I used to feel like I was like kind of an introvert and extroverted introvert
and outrovert.
I felt like I was like double, but now I'm like, no, I'm an introvert.
Yeah.
I don't get energy from other people and being around people. It makes me feel better, but I don't.
Well, I think it's like natural, just like being a human, like you need to have some sort of socialization. But I do think, if I were to say you're an introvert, I used to think I was like 100% total extrovert. I am extrovert. I love being around people and like the energy. And of course I don't like being alone. But since COVID, actually, I get really tired sometimes. Like I work from home. I could not go into an office 3 days a week. I really don't. And if I did, it would take a really long time to transition back. Because that's just like, I go into work for like an all day training sometimes and I'm just like exhausted. And I'm like, what did I do? I just walked there, sat there all day and then left. But it's like, I talked to them. I'm like, because I'm also, and I don't know if you're the same way, I'm like hyper aware of like people around me and how they feel and how I make them feel.
No, I don't care.
Yeah, see, I care a lot.
So you internalize.
Yes. Oh, yes. I think that's also like a Pisces thing, though.
Yes, it is.
That's like a big Pisces thing. Like if someone is like upset around me, I get upset.
Okay.
If someone's like mad or like sad, like I'm
like the exact opposite. I'm not saying if you get sad, I get immediately happy. That's would be fucked up, but I
kind of feel like
I
would.
don't. I'm like secretly laughing in the back. Maybe.
You know, it's like, oh my god, that person's also sad. Yes.
I'm like, you see how it is. You see how it is.
No, but you're not. It's not like a mean
I don't
way,
get like it's not affecting me in the way where it's changing my mood. If someone upsets me, obviously that's going to affect my mood, but if you're having anxiety, I'm way better at dealing with your anxiety obviously than mine, and I don't get affected, and it doesn't make me spiral or become. I put on like my mom.
Yeah, you are good.
Pants, and I'm like,
dealt with my panic attack that one time.
I can talk you down. Like, I can help. So it kind of activates that mode. But I don't really think about what other people are feeling.
Okay, when you watch things, like if you watch something, okay, so I had a panic attack once after I watched The Joker, the movie.
Okay, that I do think
that one, because he's like schizophrenic,
right,
and like I have that in my family,
okay.
So I think that also kind of triggered it. But like, I don't know, just like people being mean to him.
Yeah,
that.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I like literally got anxiety from it, had like a full blown panic attack. And like people literally told me like to watch Euphoria. The reason I have not watched Euphoria is because I read somewhere that someone who has anxiety watched it and it gave her a panic attack because it was so intense, like emotionally, because she's struggling with like.
Yeah, I watched it. I've seen it. It doesn't.
You're like, I enjoy it.
It makes me feel like I am normal. I am so normal.
It's like someone who I've grown up with who watches like murder to go to bed.
Yeah,
like
I mean,
like calm. Like
there's nothing soothing about Euphoria or The Joker to me. I can separate the. Yeah. I might have a freaking crazy nightmare because my subconscious is wild.
Yeah,
but and I dream almost every night, so I do have. Those things do attribute to that, but
yeah,
it depends, I guess, what the feeling or the attitude of the other person is.
Yeah,
but if I'm at work or in a social setting, like unless they're my really good friends, then I'm thinking about their feelings. I'm empathetic in that way, but I'm not worried about did I say the wrong thing.
Yeah, but I don't even think it's like empathy. Like you are empathetic and so am I, but like what I feel I think is beyond empathy. It's like my anxiety, whatever it is like latching on to something and I'm not able to like separate it. Yeah. So it's something that like I need to work on. But I do think it's like very Pisces of me.
I do too.
Yeah.
It's very Virgo of me to not
give up.
Because they're very self-centered. So
it is what it is.
Beyonce's a Virgo, so. Period.
So, are you comparing yourself to Beyonce?
I mean,
you didn't say it.
If I had the tools.
All right. Well, I'm really happy that we were able to talk about this. I feel like we could talk about this a lot more, but it's just nice to be able to actually have someone who understands, have someone who is open about it, and just overall, I think culturally and generally with what's going on, there's just been such an openness and such an acceptance, and even though like it sucks what we go through, like we're not alone.
People,
exactly. We're not alone, and we're never going to be alone, and it's like a good feeling. So
okay,
that's it.
Thanks for joining, and catch us wherever you get your podcasts. Like and subscribe on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Thanks.
See you next time in the laundry room.
If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please subscribe and leave a comment on our YouTube channel at Dirty Laundry City. To also stay up to date with us and get all the behind-the-scenes content, you can follow Isabella and I on Instagram and TikTok, both at Dirty Laundry City. Special thanks to Nick Ciavata, audio production, Antonio Concepcion, editing, and Side Studio for graphic design logo creation.